Hello everyone. If you are watching this, you are interested in reporting for the process of Pqrs. I will try my best to keep this as short and sweet as possible, so let's go ahead and get started. The first place you'll want to visit in Crystal will be your Admin Pqrs section. This is going to be the rules that the system has to follow that was given to us by Medicare in order for us to automatically prompt you in your record section. The patient must meet these requirements here. The four requirements that they do have to meet is going to be the patient must be a Medicare Part B primary patient. The patient must meet the minimum and in one case maximum age. The patient must also have one of these diagnosis codes as well as one of these billing codes entered into the record section. If you look at the diagnosis codes, you will notice that there are ICD-9 codes included, but if you actually hover over the particular boxes, you will see that ICD-10 codes are listed as well. So do not be alarmed by that. So the first thing we'll want to do in this section is we will want to go ahead and create a Pqrs 2016 Mips preset for our system to follow. So we'll go ahead and select Copy Preset. You can highlight Copy and write over it with Mips. That's so we can go ahead and activate and know which preset our system is following if we needed to come here at a quick glance. So if you want to rename it Mips, that would be great. The second thing you will want to do in this section is the rows that start with G8482 and 4040F. These measures are for the influenza immunization and the pneumococcal vaccine, which majority of our clients state that they do not administer. So you can go ahead and remove those rows by right-clicking and selecting Remove Row. So that way you guys aren't prompted with those measures in the records section. I can guarantee you guys will already have plenty to answer. So once those are removed, you can go ahead and select Save Preset. How you'll know that the preset was saved successfully is your preset name, and the drop-down will change to Pqrs 2016 Mips. So the only thing left for us to do is select Preset Active and select Enable Pqrs. The second part to the setup of Pqrs is going to be in the Admin Insurance section. You will want to select your insurance, Medicare insurance here in the drop-down, and be sure that this last checkbox that reads Prompt for Pqrs codes is checked for your Medicare insurance payer. Again, Pqrs is only to be reported on primary Medicare Part B patients only. All other insurances, Medicare Advantage plans, Medicare Secondary, do not need to have this box checked. It's only for primary Medicare Part B. The third part to the setup will be in your admin company section. You will want to select the records tab and be sure that use new routing slip is checked. So now we are free to go into a test patient's account. So our patient does meet the age requirement. The basic age requirement is going to be 18 years or older. My patient does have Medicare in the primary tab in the patient insurance tab. So now we'll go over to our record section. In your record section, any place that you can enter in both a diagnosis code and CPT code, the system is going to automatically prompt you with the appropriate measures for you to answer based off of the codes that you enter at that time. So in this case here, I can enter in my A&P tab a diagnosis code and CPT code. So I will go ahead and enter in all of my diagnosis codes first. And I will enter in all of my CPT codes second. And the reasoning why I'm doing this is because if you enter in all diagnosis codes first and CPT codes second, you will at that time answer your Pqrs measure as a group. So this will eliminate the higher amount of prompts that you will receive, as well as eliminate the higher amount of times you're going to have to actually answer the measures as well. So as soon as I enter in an exam code and hit enter or tab, you will see that the system is automatically going to start prompting me because it's saying that my bill code linked to my diagnosis code in order for me to be able to have this prompt greet me. So in this case here, if I know that there is more than one CPT code that I do have to enter, you will want to select ignore this in future prompts to tear down all prompts that relate to what you have entered in so far, and it will allow you to enter in a second CPT code. If your second CPT code is the last code for you to enter, again, you can go ahead and start answering these prompts. If it is not, you will want to select ignore this in future prompts, so that way you can enter in your third measure. Same rule applies if you have a fourth or fifth, if it gets that complicated. So in this case here, I will go ahead and say that my refraction code is my last code to enter, so I can start entering my measures. Medicare does want to know for this measure, Medicare wants to know if you did perform the optic nerve head evaluation there at your location. If you did, you are free to select enabled and save and close. If you did not, since this is the only option Medicare does give you to choose, you will select enabled, but you will also include a modifier to tell Medicare why that was not performed there at your location. So modifiers are here to tell Medicare why something did not happen at that time of visit. We'll go ahead and save and close. In other prompts, you will be given more than one option to choose, so you will want to read through the prompts carefully so you are able to pick the one that fits best for you and your patient at that time of visit. Also, another thing to look at are your logical operators here. If you do have a description that does have a logical operator of or, you are only to choose that option or another. Again, logical operators basically signify that you are to choose one measure that fits you and your patient at that time. I'll go ahead and save and close. In this case here, Medicare does give us 3 options to choose from. Again, you will want to go ahead and read through them carefully to choose the one that best fits you and your patient at that time. In this case here, we do have a measure that does have a logical operator of and, so you will select that option, or when you select that option, you will see that the option directly below it is checked as well. If you were to try to uncheck one of them, both of them become unchecked. This is the way that Medicare has it set up. Anything that does have a logical operator of and is kind of like a package deal almost. So don't be alarmed if you see 2 options checked. That is not something that you did. That is something that Medicare has already set up for you. Okay. Now we are coming to our cross-cutting measures. Our cross-cutting measures are going to be our measures that do relate to all diagnosis codes. So I will already prepare you or warn you that any primary Medicare Part B patient who comes to see you for an exam, you will be answering these next 4 cross-cutting measures for each and every one of those patients. They're pretty easy though, so let's review. For this one here, Medicare wants to know if you do document the patient's medication at your visits or when they come in to see you. So if you do document the list of medications, you will want to go ahead and select the first option. If the patient comes to see you and does not take medication at that time, you will select the second. And if the patient does take medication but you do not document it, you will select the third option. So I will go ahead and say that I did write down the patient's medication, dose, and route, and save and close. The second cross-cutting measure will be for tobacco use. Patients either are or are not tobacco users. Former tobacco users are considered non-users. So if your patient comes in and does not use any form of tobacco, you will select the second option. If your patient does come to see you and they use some sort of tobacco product, you will go ahead and select the first option. If you offer counseling to your patient, if you offer a 3-minute conversation explaining why tobacco use is bad for your patient, you can go ahead and select Enabled and Save and Close. If your patient is a tobacco user and you do not talk to them 3 minutes or longer regarding why tobacco is bad for them, then you will have to select a modifier to say why that patient was not counseled there at your location. We will go ahead and save and close. The third cross-cutting measure is going to be for blood pressure. Medicare does give you 5 options for you to choose from. If you do document blood pressure, Medicare has given you 3 of the 5 for you to read over and choose which one fits best. If you do not document blood pressure, Medicare does give you 2 options here. Blood pressure reading not documented, patient not eligible or appropriate, or blood pressure reading not documented, reason not given. I will say that a few of our clients have informed us that G8785 is no longer a valid code to use for Pqrs reporting, but unfortunately I have not found that information anywhere, so that is why it is still part of the preset. So if you did not take the blood pressure reading, I would suggest possibly choosing G8784 as your answer, so you will receive credit on that measure. And our last and final cross-cutting measure that we will come across is going to be for pain assessment. Medicare does give you 6 options for you to choose from. If you do document pain assessment, I would go ahead and read through these carefully and choose the best one. Medicare does give you 2 options to state that you did not document the patient's pain assessment at that time. And they are documentation that patient is not eligible for pain assessment, or no documentation of pain assessment, reason not given. So we'll go ahead and save and close on that one. So as soon as we are no longer prompted with Pqrs measures, that basically means that we have exhausted all measures that apply to our diagnosis code and CPT codes that we have entered onto or into our record section. So now we can go ahead and open up our routing slip. Anytime that you do try to leave a tab where you can enter in both codes, the system is going to prompt you again for safe measure. We just want to make sure that you guys are entering your Pqrs prompts, in which case we know we already have, so we can select ignore this in future prompts, and we can open up our routing slip at this time. So here, if you look at your routing slip, you will see the diagnosis codes that we have entered initially, as well as our billing codes. And of course, you will also see any of the Pqrs billing codes that we have enabled through those prompts. So here in the routing slip, you will want to go ahead and link your diagnosis codes to your bill codes. Medicare does have a rule for this, and that is Medicare only wants you to link 1 diagnosis code per Pqrs bill code. And I say it that way because the initial bill codes that you have entered onto your record, your exam code and your refraction code, as an example here, you can link them to all diagnosis codes that apply. For your Pqrs measures, if you remember, the optic nerve head evaluation did relate to 1 diagnosis code, and that was for our glaucoma. So we will go ahead and select B for glaucoma. For the dilated retinal exam, let's just say I don't remember what this code related to. So we can go ahead and select check Pqrs and find this measure code in the measure code column. So I'm looking for 2022F. It is not in that prompt, so I will exit out, and 2022F is here. Here at the top, again, you can refer to the codes that they have given you or we have given you to let you know which one's linked to one another in order for you to receive this particular prompt. So I can go ahead and say that this is diabetes, and I can select ignore this in future prompts, and I can check my box accordingly. So here, these are glaucomas, so you will go ahead and select B. As I said before, the 4 cross-cutting measures do relate to all diagnosis codes. So once you get to your medications, Pqrs bill code here in your routing slip, you are free to pick and choose any of the diagnosis codes that you have listed above. Since they do relate to all diagnosis codes, Medicare does not care which code you choose as long as there is a code linked to it. So once you have all of your bill codes linked, you can go ahead and close out your routing slip. Again, the routing slip is a place where you can enter in both the diagnosis code and bill code, so we are going to prompt you. Again, you'll just want to go ahead and select ignore this in future prompts, and it will tear everything down for you. Now the patient is free to go check out. Once your checkout person selects the billing button there up top, he or she will want to go ahead and turn the routing slip into an invoice by selecting yes. At that time, they will see your Pqrs measure answers. They will also see that you have already linked your diagnosis codes to your bill codes. So all that is left for them to do is select assign insurance here at the top, select Medicare, and Medicare will then be linked to each one of the bill lines. At that point, they are free to select Save Invoice, and from here forward, this is all something that's going to be the same for your checkout person and your biller. They will just want to open up the CMS form, scrub your claim for errors, add it to the batch, and batch it out at the end of the day. I will say I would suggest someone there at your office call your clearinghouse to verify that they do submit $0 line items. Basically, ask them if they transfer bill lines that are for $0. We have found in the past that some clearinghouses did not transfer $0 line items to Medicare, and therefore they were not being seen during the reporting period. So definitely contact them, verify. If they do accept $0 line items, if they do transfer them over, you are free to leave these lines as $0. If they do not, you will want to go ahead and set each one of these for a penny charge, so that way it does get submitted. Alrighty, so that is Pqrs reporting in a nutshell. I know it's a lot of work and I do apologize, but just know that this is temporary. Of course, if you do have any questions, definitely feel free to contact me. My name is Amanda, and you can reach me by phone at 800-308-7169 option 1, or you can reach me by email at amanda@crystalpm.com. Do not hesitate to contact me. That's what I'm here for. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I do appreciate it. And again, let me know if you need anything from me. Have a good day. Bye-bye.